comments. I will defer questions, and I would yield to Mr. Roy.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for appearing. Mr. Comer, the ranking member, Mr. Raskin, just referenced a whole lot of assertions about what this would do or not do as it relates to limiting the increase penalties and efforts, by the city council. It's like kind of trying to like limit, it's like putting a limit on my son voluntarily doing more chores or something. It's just not going to happen. Can you walk me through your response to what the current city council is doing? And, the young man who walked out with an AR and lit up a car with like 26 shots and just got released?
Yeah. I mean, you've seen, we've all seen the interview for the former police chief says that, they've got a problem. Some of these people have been arrested 7 or 8 times for the same crime. They've never gone to prison. So the current DC council hasn't demonstrated any ability to do anything other than be soft on crime, be more lenient on crime. If they want to work with Congress on having a policy that's tougher on criminals than your home state of Texas, which I would assume is probably as tough as any state in America, then we would love to work with them on that. We've worked with Mayor Bowser on lots of legislation that hopefully the Senate will be passing soon that would allow the Department of Interior to lease to the city of Washington, D.C. for 99 years the old RFK Stadium where they can build a brand new state-of-the-art football facility for the Washington Commanders with private money. So we've worked closely with the D.C. Council, but we have a crime crisis here, and this council has done nothing but demonstrate a soft on crime policy that's led to out-of-control crime, and we believe that what we did initially in a bipartisan manner, passing House Joint Resolution 26, which ironically was the first bill this Congress to make it all the way through the House, the Senate, and President Biden's signature. We believe this is a positive step forward because their definition of juvenile is a problem in holding people accountable when you have people right at 25 years old that are being treated as minors in court rulings. It's just created a situation where it almost incentivizes young criminals to continue to be repeat offenders. So we believe this is good, solid legislation. I disagree with what he said.
Didn't we have one of our own members of Congress get carjacked about
We've had
10 blocks
several.
south of here?
I think they were Democrat members too. And then Rand Paul had a staffer
stabbed, right? Mm-hmm. Other staffers, I think, have been
and our
injured.
I don't know about your staffers, but I have several staffers that live in Navy Yard, which is a pretty, I think, growing up in the foothills of Appalachia, the Navy Yard looks pretty prominent to me. And it's, lockdowns on a weekly basis there. They call that we can't come to work yet. There's a lockdown. The building's locked down. There's criminals. There's carjacking. We've got a problem in Washington, D.C. with crime. And, every intern I have, their parents call, are you sure? I worry about my kids. And I'm like, can't be out late at night. Where are you going to live? And it shouldn't be that way in our nation's capital.
We've had other members assaulted. We have a particular problem with juvenile crime in the District of Columbia right now. Is that correct?
That is 100% correct. And they talk about it all the time when they defend their soft on crime policies. They say, well, we have a juvenile crime outbreak. Well, it's because the definition of juvenile here goes all the way up to 24 years old and 364 days. So, and to answer your previous question, just a point I want to make, 2 members of the D.C. Council are currently facing recall efforts because they're not taking crime seriously. The people of Washington, D.C., outside the political bubble and the Washington Post, are concerned about crime outbreak. Now, we've heard from those people, and we're trying to react and create a situation where criminals are held accountable.
Right, and isn't it like about a third of the carjackings are juveniles?
That's right.
And the city has steadfastly refused to address the issue, right? And so I think the question before us as members of Congress, it's our nation's capital, People around the country want to come here. They want to be safe to come to their nation's capital. The Capitol was set up for a particular reason. I've had a number of, thoughtful and engaging debates with the ranking member about D.C. and its status, but it is the capital city.
Right.
It was created intentionally to be the capital city, and we have a particular both responsibility and ability to deal with those issues as Congress, right? There are no federalism barriers here.
That's right.
There are no kind of prudential considerations about, the constitutional limits of our power as members of Congress. We can decide what we think ought to happen to the nation's capital. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And as such, Congress can act and can ensure or take steps to ensure that the people who live here, work here, the members of our staff, members of this body, members of the executive branch, and most importantly, the millions, I don't know the exact data, of visitors that come to the city every year are safe, which right now I think there's a increasing concern of a lack of safety for people who come here. And I remember the 80s, early 90s D.C. When I would come here as a young person, not 18 years old. I'd come here, and there were real concerns about where you'd go in D.C. And there were a lot of bipartisan efforts to clean up D.C. A lot of bipartisan efforts to ensure that crime was being prosecuted. And for various faults, Marion Barry had his faults, but there were some, about trying to find ways to ensure that we could prosecute crime. The main point is, this should not be a partisan issue, but increasingly appears to be. And I think the whole point this week, as we talk about our law enforcement community, is not just the District of Columbia, where we have a very direct responsibility, but certainly at least in talking about the billions of dollars of funding that go out. I would obviously be one that would say we should be constraining overall funding, given that we don't have any money to give. We're $34.5 trillion in debt. But to the extent that there are, burn grants, JAG grants that are going out through the Department of Justice, what are these cities using them for? What is the city of Austin using it for when the city of Austin is whacking the police department and we're now down 500 officers in Austin? So to your kind points about that, the state of Texas takes crime responsibly, we do as a state. Some of our cities less so. Austin's one of them. And so, look, I'm certainly supportive of taking whatever steps we need to do as Congress. Again, there are no federalism limits or restrictions. And so, I hope we'll proceed with legislation to deal with the crime in D.C., and I yield back.
Thank you. I recognize Ranking Member McGovern.
Thank you.